Hey everyone, how are you going today? Uh, I've got John with me. John just came first at the Fusion World Regionals here in Sydney playing TOPKU. He's boring. He's got no spice in him. No, I'm joking. I love you, John. But
I don't
let's
know how to
let
believe. I don't know how to believe.
let let's let John take it away and give us his deck profile from the weekend.
Yeah, I ended up playing Top Coup. Look, it's pretty obvious right now that this is the best deck in the game, like in the set two format. I think you can't really argue that. I know there's people like saying that, oh, there's counters to Top Coup, and there's like, if you play like this, you can beat Top Coup, but it's like you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing this deck. It's just Yeah, the deck is just too good at what it does, and a lot of the top players like you speak to from throughout the regions, like TOPKU's just playing a different game from all the other decks. Yeah, it's the reason why I picked that. I will say, even though I think outside of the mirror, the hardest matchup for TOPKU is blue because the blue deck is catered specifically to pretty much just slow down TOPKU to a halt, constantly clear its board or whatever. So I think if you want to be the anti-meta player, I think it's fine to play blue, but look, I know we had some Android players, some green players at the event, but I think you're kind of trolling if you don't play red or blue in the format, in my opinion, right? Yeah, but anyway, that's my thoughts on the meta. Top Crew is really good. It's best leader in the game. On it swings and draws, so you can't get stalled out like Beerus. And then obviously the best part about it is activate main to just discard a card from your hand and play one of the bigger tournament power cards for one energy. Your primary two targets with this are always your Kefla 4-drop and Ribrianne. Ribrianne obviously going for game, and then Kefla because it lets you just build board presence. Your goal in this deck is essentially just to get to 3 life as quickly as possible, or at a nice rate where you don't hurt yourself too hard, and then you get to your start just trying to play 3 to 4 bodies a turn. If you're on 5 energy, you can harder cast Kefla for 4, and then use the leader to play a second Kefla, or you can just play your Kefla with your leader skill and then tap 3 um, for a regular Kefla. And there's like a bunch of other bits and pieces you can do in between. So yeah, I think that's the general gist of Top Coup. I'll just quickly run through I guess my tech, um, my tech for the deck. The least important one is my super combo choice. It doesn't matter. I like to play the Kaba. Like the logic behind me playing Kaba versus playing a different super combo is that if they see me Kaba, they might think I have the U6 searcher. That's the only reason why I play Kaba. There's no other reason for it. It doesn't really matter. Um,
John, we know the real reason you play Carver, and it's because there's a judge promo for it, so it's shinier. You don't have to fool us.
no. That's part of the reason. It's generally like that's like part of the reason. Like, yes, it's in Judge Foil, whatever, but it's literally like better technically because you can bluff another card in your deck. It's kind of like the other logic behind it. Not that it actually matters, but yeah. Um, for Glimpse, so this is like an interesting one. Now the reason why For Glimpse is interesting is because if you look at a lot of the Western metas, I'm talking about like NA and EU, right? They're all running the majority of the decks that won or the decks that like top, they're running 3 glimpse, and I think that's fine. The reason why I went with 4 glimpse, to be completely honest, it lets you just the problem with 3 glimpse that I was having when I was playing the deck is that you get to the point where glimpse is technically a dead card in your hand in the early game, so you want to charge it or discard it off your leader. But then if you decide to hold it in hand, it's kind of awkward. And on top of that as well, you only have 3, so you treat glimpse like you play around glimpse differently because you only have 3. You're not as loose with it. But the way I like to play the game, I like to glimpse just random things, and because I've got 4, I can get away with like glimpsing a random thing, right? Like the fact that I can use glimpse on a Roshi or like a Basil and make it a 30k swing plus grab something back. That 30k is like a super combo check, right? Like this is essentially the super combo on your turn plus grabbing back a card. Like the card's insane. Like the most common way I closed out a lot of my games was forcing my opponent to either 1 or 2 life. If they're on 2 life, I'd ram them, or if they were on 1 life, I would use Roshi, take a life, so my glimpse cost 1 energy. Play something, then swing, then use glimpse for 1, then use another glimpse for 2, um, and just get insane combo power. I think that's like pretty much how I'm like I'd say like 90% of my games. And also for my matchups wise, I played 7 Top Crew mirrors, 1 Beerus, 1 Androids, and 1 Zamasu. So yeah, there's that. But no, Glimpse is too good at 4. I think Yeah, I think 4 is correct, and just because like the less glimpse you have, the more careful you have to be with it. But the card's just so good. Just like there's a lot of turns that I'll go like 1 energy for my leader ability, 1 energy for a cantrip or something, right? For a basil, and then I'll just be like, all right, I attack with one of my cards, and I'll just glimpse to grab a card back, and I'm like, I don't even care because I got like another 3 glimpses coming. Like against shout out to my boy Alan who I played in the finals. I think in the last game, I mulliganed, and in my opening hand I saw 3 glimpses in a row. I'm like, it's time, and I just knew that's what I needed a bit blue. So I was like, okay. But yeah, no, the glimpse is too good. It's probably, look, a glimpse on its own is fine. The problem with Glimpse in this deck specifically is that you're playing Kefla for 1 or a brand for 1, and then you still have the energy to use Glimpse. So I know I'll talk about it a bit more at the end about the cards I would ban to hit the deck, but Glimpse is not one of the cards I would hit, in my opinion. Next, the 1-drop spread, I guess, we've got Roshi standard, Basil standard. Those are like part of the cards you have to run it for in this deck. But the last card that I'm running as a 1-drop is Whis. Not that many people are playing this card. I got this from I saw a Japanese player use it in their deck on Twitter, and the reason I'm running this is simply due to the fact it's a 10k. So the logic behind this Whis over the other Whis is like, let's just say now you want Whis to answer Roshi on turn 1, right? So you play the other Whis turn 1, you use the activate main, reduce it by 5 cost, and then you just kill the Roshi, right? Which is cool. But then, most likely, obviously in red, it's a little bit trickier for in the mirror match for them to clear the bigger Whis. But against everything else, like blue, let's say for example, they just Zamasu it, or even red later on, they can just kill it easily with a 3-drop Goku, 3-drop Gohan, or a combination of cards, right? So the the card isn't particularly sticky, so it just dies. And then, like, if you draw into the other way late game, it's just a 5k versus a 10k, which I think is like the big difference. Like, the functionality of the card is I will play this card to remove a 5k, but at least as well, this card is also an additional 10k combo, which is really nice. I had a lot of the games in the mirror where my opponent would drop Khalifa or hit, and then I'd have this card in my hand. I'd attack with a Khalifa or hit. And then what I'd do, I'd play this Whis, I'd reduce the Khalifa or hit by 5k, and then I'd swing into this with my leader, and combo this off. So I'd be 25 into 15. So it's kind of like in that situation, enemy 15k combo power, which is like kind of nice. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this card. Like the big thing I was struggling with this deck is that I needed to up the 10k count, and this is just the easiest way. Like I'm not playing Piccolo 1-drop. I'm just playing this instead because like again, it's a 10k card, and 10k is more. A lot of the times, having that extra 10k is more valuable than paying 1 energy just to draw a card. Um, Yeah, Cauliflower and hit. I play 4 Cauliflower and 2 hit. I still want to have a lot of ways to take life. Like the cheap end of my ways of taking life is Roshi, Cauliflower, and hit. I prefer Cauliflower over hit because I can tap 2 to play Cauliflower, take the life, and then not have to attack with her, which is kind of nice because that means in the mirror they're forced to hit my leader. Whereas if they attack with their card, I get to swing into that. Hit's really nice too to kill off cantrips. It's another way to answer Roshi and just clear cantrips. Like it's nice if my opponent has sometimes I'll still play hit late game. Like if my opponent plays a cantrip just to draw a card, I can play hit, swing with hit 20k and delete and kill their cantrip. So hit's kind of like it gets forces them to combo a card out of hand versus comboing the free card off board. So yeah, hit felt I was pretty happy with hit. As a 12, it came up when it needed to, but yeah, the only thing that sucks about hit is that it's not searchable off Basil, which is like a big reason like why it's just like not at 4, if that makes sense. Because like you see hit in the top 5 with your Basil, and it's like I can't add this. Like, because honestly, one of the targets I usually grab off my Basil is Cauliflower a lot of the time. Was this like it sets up your like turn 1 Basil into turn 2 Cauliflower. It feels really nice against majority of decks. And Cauliflower having critical as well. Shout out to Marco. One of the games we were testing the TOPKU mirror. On my turn 4, I played a Cauliflower. Oh no, sorry, I protected the Cauliflower I had on my board. Next turn, I swung with my Cauliflower, used Glimpse, made it 45k crit, and then I grabbed the Cauliflower back from my trash and then replayed it. So yeah, Cauliflower's good. Cauliflower is a very good card. Trying to think what's next. Kepler at 4 is pretty self-explanatory. The 3-drop Kepler is only at 3 because you can only really play it when you're awakened, so it's dead a lot of the time. Like it's the card I usually charge at the start. So there's that. It's good that it's a 10k, and it's good that it draws a card. It's good in those games where it's like your head. It like keeps you ahead. It lets you build board presence plus drawing cards. So yeah, this is the good card. I'll go to Catapisa next. Cato was a card I was on and off for the longest time, and I decided to start playing it again because it's one of the few cards that is actually good to play when you're at high life off Kefla. Like you pay 4 for Kefla and Decado, and then you get yeah, you get like nice board removal, whatever. And yeah, this is also another 10k. It's like kind of the tech of the deck. There is a world where I could see myself changing Catapisa to the 3-drop Carver blocker, but I probably wouldn't in hindsight because that actually, um, in my round one, shout out to Jonathan Moore, we played round one, and he actually went to 2 life against me in the top crew. I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm chilling. Like next turn, you're just dying to Rebram Glints. But then he ended up playing the Carver blocker, and it forced me to go to 6 energy and play Beerus to clear his board. And it's like I have to kind of like risk it to try and kill you here, otherwise I'm not winning. And I was able to barely win that game, so. Yeah, the Carbo has merit, but yeah, it's maybe, I don't know, it depends. There's a lot of TOPKU is weird, like in the sense like it is definitely the best deck, and like 80% of the decks are the same. But then you have that little bit of wiggle room, like that 20% wiggle room to do like what you want, and I think this is like part of that wiggle room, I'd say. And then yeah, I guess for the rest of the wiggle room, we've got 3 Goku, 3 Gohan, and sorry, 2 Gohan and 3 Beerus. 3-drop Goku is like actually the best card in red, unironically, besides Kefla, in my opinion. Like the card's so good. Like the fact that it just on your turn 3 it just clears whatever your opponent has in play, because most likely, unless they blew the energy marker to play something big, they don't have anything that's like like statted less higher than 20k. It combines with it has so many combos with other cards in your deck that like cost reduction, like hit reduces by 5k, Kato can reduce to 10k, Gohan 3-drop reduces by 15. So it's like Gohan plus whatever other card in your deck will clear anything. And the cool thing about it, like this deck specifically, right? It combos so well because this is like on your 4 energy player, you're paying 1 for Kefla plus, let's say, the Gohan, right? Like that your clear anything turn while also pressuring lead is playing Kefla into the 3-drop Gohan, or just outright playing 3-drop Gohan with your leader, right? Then you're playing this Gohan and then killing the killing whatever you reduced with the 3-drop. So yeah, the card's crazy. It's yeah. Look, I would, if it had combo power, definitely play it at 4, but it does not, so we can't play it at 4, in my opinion. 3-drop Gohan, I was always 50-50 on this card, but this card's essentially your 5th and 6th copy of, your 4th and 5th copy of Beerus that comes out earlier, and it can again be part of that 4 energy combo of playing 1 for Kefla, paying the 3-drop Gohan or Kato, then playing this and let you just clear your opponent's board, as well as building your own board, right? So it's very good. I don't see myself wanting to go up higher than 2 because it doesn't come up every game. If it was a 10k, I'd be like, hell yeah, we go up to 3. But I think as a 12, it's fine. Then we have Beerus. Um, so Beerus is the most impactful card in the mirror if you're able to get to it. Where when Beerus comes out, he usually dictates the course of the game, and if he doesn't get cleared, he will win you the game. Because simply put, like if your opponent goes the route of Turbo Awakening and they're not playing Android 17, which isn't actually very popular in the current meta, they get blown out by this card. And the higher life total you're at when you drop your first Beerus, the more impactful it is. Because not only does your opponent have to somehow scramble to rebuild their board, clear this Beerus, and then also like kill you through your whole life. If they overextend, they just get punished by an additional Beerus. And if Beerus does live, every time Beerus lives, he demands a super combo out of your opponent's hand. So the card's very good. You wouldn't go any higher than 3 because it's a very late game card, and you don't always go into it. It's like the best in those slower, grindier games in the mirror. And yeah, it's just like if you're ever hitting when you killing one card with the Beerus feels okay. Killing 2 is like, alright, it's a good trade. But then when you kill like 3 or 4 cards off Beerus, like damn, this card's broken. But yeah, Beerus is very good. Beerus is very good. Lastly, we have Ribrianne, just double striker. Double striker is good. It's the best double striker in the game, and I think it's probably the best It's the best finisher in the game. It's like one energy double strike back behind like 1 or 2 glimpses is just too good. Man, that's pretty much the deck. I don't know. Like, I know I ranted on for a little bit, but it's just TOPKU. Like, I think if you've seen every deck profile, you kind of get the gist of what the deck does. It's just like some nitty gritty. Like, oh, I'm playing this card over that card, right? Like my 1-drop Whis, for example, and I'm also playing 4 Glimpse, where some people aren't really big on 4 Glimpse, but I think 4 Glimpse is too good in this deck. It's the deck it was made for, and the card's busted. But the cards I would hit to like, because obviously Bandai's doing their ban list next week. The 2 cards I would hit in this deck would be Roshi and Ribrianne. Roshi simply because it enables you to do one energy glimpse plus is like if it doesn't get cleared, you're uninteractively taking all your life and Turbo Awakening. And it's also a 10k. Like I think even if they made Roshi a 5k, it would feel a lot more relevant. But Roshi just is just like the best card in red, like best one drop, like crazy. It can draw up to X amount of cards and makes all your extras cost one less. It's just there. Card's insane. And then obviously with Brienne, you look at every other double striker in this game, all of them not only cost at least 5 energy, right? Like every color has a double, except for green, I guess. So like red, the other red double striker, the blue double striker, and the yellow double striker all cost 5 energy. The green one, those two green ones, one cost 6, and they both cost 6. Sorry, being the Gohan. But also, Rubium's the only one besides the green Gohan that has combo power, which is like actually insane, right? A bit different for green. Green needs more cards with combo power, so that makes sense that that card has green, has combo power. Sorry, but then it's like you're playing this for one. Like the earliest the next double striker can come out, like is 5 energy. It's like it's not even comparable. It's like, yeah, because against TOPKU you can never go to 2 life, so you're stuck defending all these hits till you go to 2 life, and then if you defend all these hits, you just have no cards in your hand anyway, and just get poked out. But it's that just there, it was just like, oh, 2 life rubber and double strike, infinite combo power is for game. And then even like let's just say now, you can bluff having the Ribrian too. Like if there's so many times where my opponent's on 2 life, right? And I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna swing with my cards anyway, because like you're in kill range, it doesn't matter. And if they decide they're either coming out of my random 20k swings, being like, oh, okay, he has to have the Rubrian, which is correct. Like you have to stay on 2 life. You never want to go to one. But I'm just taxing them anyway. It's like, okay, you're losing cards. So when my Rubrian does come out, it is bigger. But then if they do decide to go to 1 life, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna play Rubrian. I'm gonna play both my Keflers and just draw 2 more cards instead. So even though you took the one card, unless it's a super combo, you actually just fucked up. And I just drew way more cards. It's like, yeah, it's crazy. But those would be the 2 cards I hit from this deck. And also, if they hit these 2 cards, they have to ban Pilaf, by the way, because otherwise blue would be too toxic. But yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's the deck profile. I think that's it. That's all I've got to say
You
about
think,
top
you think
two.
that's it? Let's talk about some of the notable non-inclusions. The first one being my least favorite card in the deck. A lot of people's favorite card in the deck, though. Android 17.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Android 17, in my opinion, the most high rolly way of playing Top Crew is you rip all your life, then start spamming on Android 17s. The problem is that Android 17 kind of like slides into the same category as the 3-drop Kefla, where it's only good when you're awakened. So if you're not hitting that high roll, right, 17 doesn't feel as good. Because let's just say now you do drop an early 17, right? Your leader becomes 20k base, which is cool and all. It means you can pressure without being awakened, but it also means you're not getting closer to your win condition of just awakening and spitting out stuff. So it kind of counteracts with that. The other thing too is that 17 doesn't have that protection that it has once it's awakened. Like 17 can be removed if your leader's not awakened by skills, right? So that means that against green it's dying, against the mirror it dies the Beerus. So yeah, there's that. That's yeah, and Whis 3-drop Goku is another way it gets outed. So yeah, that's why I didn't include 17. I do know it's the ultimate high roll player, but it's a high roll play. It's a win more card, I guess, is a good way to put it.
It's
In
a
the current meta, anyway.
Yeah.
If green's better, it's like all right, never mind. It's a staple in this deck if green's meta.
Yeah, 100%. If green's a bad deck, it's good. It's also a good card into Zamasu as it makes your leader 25k, so it's something you can play off Kefla to get 2 extra swings into a awakened Zamasu leader, which is quite impactful, as we were talking about with Alan yesterday. And the later parts of the game, a card in Zamasu's hand is worth more than a card in TOPKU's hand. So you definitely want to kind of eliminate their hand, so 17 is good in that. But in the mirror, one of my, I guess, least favorite things about 17 is you're not really allowed to swing with it. Because if you swing with it, then it's just too easy to like clear with this Gohan plus kind of swing into it. So it's a card that has to stay inactive. But then if your opponent's awakened, it just dies to like a Kefla Gohan and then play Gohan, or Kefla Gohan, play this Gohan, or Kefla Gohan, play Catapezla. There's too many ways it kind of dies in the mirror. So the only way it lives is if you can stall your opponent from awakening, the turn you play it, and then the only way you kind of get extra value from it is if you are if you can play multiple like the turn after. So it's a pretty high rolly card, especially in the mirror, and it's even worse against Beerus, which is another quite popular deck at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more, honestly. It's like, yeah. Also, some decks are playing God Kamehameha, which is out 17 anyway. So it's like, yeah, it's the card is actually really well designed, and the card in a vacuum is very powerful. But it's just this is not the correct meta for it. Once the meta changes up a bit, and it's more like there's less things that can out it, then it's like, okay, then we're talking. Because like green and yellow can't really out it, and it's very powerful against both of those colors. But yellow and green are also the two worst colors in the game, so it's like, eh.
Yellow can kind of out it with the one cost event.
Yeah, but then you're making
Sure.
yellow play a brick, so it's like, okay, it's like whatever. They can play that card if they want.
It is very, very true. Is there any other kind of lines you want to talk about, John? Anything spicy you found in the mirror, or into Beerus, or into any of these blue decks? Got any spicy tips and tricks for those wanting to play TOPKU out there for the next week?
But for the next week, all right. First tip: win the dice roll, because dice roll is busted. You know, that's what you want to do. If you need to waste some dice or whatever, go for it. You know. But no, in all seriousness though, like the deck's pretty. Look, the deck is pretty straightforward in my opinion. It's like you have you want to be, if you're on, your objective is to, against 99% of decks, besides the mirror, you just want to awaken as soon as possible. And in the mirror, you still want to take your life, but not at a reasonable pace. You don't want to be turbo awakening, because otherwise you just can't keep up. You get your hand just dwindles too quickly, right? But you basically want to be like, I have 4 energy. I want to I want to use my leader skill and a 3-drop. I have 5 energy. I want to do my leader skill and play a 4-drop Kefla. Or I want to play my leader skill, a 2-drop card, and use a glimpse. It's like you kind of just like look at your hand and kind of just do the math. Like that's kind of how it is. Don't be afraid to float 2 energy for defensive glimpse to defend even your battle cards, because the cool thing about glimpse is that if your opponent decides to swing to a battle card, you can use glimpse to not only defend said card, but because you defended a battle card, the power should always go over 30,000, so you're able to grab something back on defense, which feels very impactful. Um, what else? I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Look, I really can't think of anything else. Oh, actually, last thing. Don't feel like you always have to be like, I'm spamming my leader skill. You don't have to rush things through. Like the most, in my opinion, the correct way to play Fusion World is to poke your opponent until they have 0 cards in hand, right? So if you think, all right, I don't need to go, my opponent's going to clear my bodies, right? I don't need, like, my opponent's going for, like, against red, they're about to have a Beerus turn, or against blue, they're going to have a Zeno turn coming up, right? Don't feel like you have to vomit your hand onto the board. It's okay to tap 4 for Kefla to play something and draw a card and not use your leader skill. Is, I think, one thing some people need to wrap their head around.
No, that is definitely a very good tip. Playing slow in this game and efficiently with your hand is definitely something that will win you a lot of games. It's really good with cards like Basil as well. Like, I don't know how many times over the weekend I went swing with something, play a glimpse, grab Basil back, play Basil, top 5 search, swing with something, combo Basil, because it was just the most efficient play to get cards out of my opponent's hand at the time. So yeah, be creative with ways you can keep the most amount of cards in your hand, and it will help. It will help a lot.
Cool. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah, you said that summarizes my thoughts, Max. That's exactly what I was thinking.
So any shout outs you want to give, John?
There's a few. Shout out to Max, shout out to Kevin, and shout out to Marco, because I think we're the 3 that played the most together this week. Because Marco, like, yeah, Marco was coming to locals in that with me to play. I hope I helped him play the mirror, which is cool. Kevin and you, we talked a lot online, and we played a lot of. I don't normally play webcam games, but I did for once, and it felt pretty good practicing against Max, so that was good. So thanks to Max and Kevin for playing some games with me. And the last shout I want to give is to my partner Jess. Everyone was like, it was funny, and she tells me this as well. She's like, "Oh, that's John's girlfriend." Oh, and like when she was playing, so it was pretty funny. And then, but she just had such a good tournament run. Like she was undefeated for after the first 3 rounds, and she was playing on table 1, and like she was playing cleanly, and if she won one more game, there was a very real chance that her breakers would have got into top 8, and that would have been just really awesome for her second event playing. And she wasn't playing TOPKU, she was playing Beerus, and she was yeah, very nervous the day before, and so yeah, having such a good result and getting top 32, I think meant the world to her. So I'm very proud of Jess. She did it really good.
Yeah, just to add on to that, Jess had the highest resistance I have ever seen at a tournament. After round 6, she had 80. Her opponent's win percentage was 84%, which essentially means like every single person she played against, like everyone she beat, pretty much won all the games besides her. It was crazy to see a resistance that high. Like in comparison, the other side of the scale is someone who had opponent's win percentage of 16%, which is like fathomably low. So 84, it was ridiculous to see how well Jess did.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
it was crazy. Like all her losses, she ended up finishing X3. Like, but all her losses were people who got into the top 16. So I was like, okay. Like even one of her losses was the guy who finished second at the end of the Swiss. So she had a good event. I'm yeah proud of her. Proud of her.
You know, she did really well. And yeah, just similar to John. Shout out to your Airbnb. It was a pretty hype Airbnb. 3 top 16s, 1 top 32.
Yeah.
And then shout out to Kevin who had the same list as you did, John. And then I had a list 2 cards off. So it is a very good list with a lot of results.
Yeah, it's TOPKU, man. It's good. That's what it is.
TOPKU, good deck. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned a bunch about TOPKU. I'm sure you'll hear more from John and myself at some point. Also, shout out to Alan. I can't believe we didn't shout out Alan enough. He came second on 1 hour of sleep. Playing some
That sounds like a personal problem.
It does sound like a personal problem. But thanks, guys, for watching. We'll get some more videos up for you guys soon. Hopefully some more educational content so you guys can all improve your Fusion World gameplay. Thanks for being here, John, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Adios.